In fact, in the Mahayana, uh, protecting others becomes of greater significance for the practitioner than needing to protect oneself. The protecting oneself phase has been accomplished. One is confident and courageous, so helping others becomes very possible, very natural. Generate a sense of being somewhat comfortable and relaxed with sitting still and not doing anything in particular. This is a very necessary balance to the almost absurd amount of activity we engage in nowadays, non-stop activity. Since we have so many gadgets, we are never, almost never, still alone with ourselves, with our breath. And not only that, but so many tens of millions of people throughout the world also cannot relax enough at nighttime to be able to rest properly, to be able to sleep. So it's very clear we have a problem with being natural and relaxed and comfortable. So this stems from disturbed energy in the body, imbalance, which in turn comes from the disturbing emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, insecurity, attachment, all the rest of it, which in turn, Buddha said, comes from the wrong understanding of who we are. Holding on very tightly to a very strong kind of self-identity, very solid sense of oneself, I, therefore me and mine as well. So this is the root of the problem, according to Lord Buddha. Okay. Thank you everyone again who's here. So we mentioned the misunderstanding of who we are, sort of grasping onto a false identity, false sense of self, which we then hold on to very tightly so that we feel there's something we really have to keep on defending. And not only defending, but grabbing things in order to make that self happy. If you need more cushion, take. What happens, of course, then naturally is that we behave in a self-centered manner. You know, there is very little space in the mind for us to authentically care for others sufficiently. Of course, a person will care for their friend, a mother will care for a child, usually, all things being equal, a mother, father will care, at least to some extent, for children and brothers, sisters, neighbors, whatever, to some extent. But fundamentally, we will be quite self-centered in the sense that everything is calculated almost instinctively in terms of how it will affect me. Will this help me? And people can go to absurd lengths to make sure that they are well accepted and looked upon properly and favorably by others, even if it means that that person has to, in a sense, not be true to their own, their own genius, to their own personality, but they will adjust just in order to feel that others consider them okay, that in society's eyes, they're okay. So much do we need that sense of security and belonging that, others accept us. And that could be very detrimental, obviously, to one's own creative talent, or to just simply to what we want to be or to do. So in that way also, we are very focused on ourselves. This would be all right if it created happiness, if it was the cause of happiness for ourselves and others. But at least the logic of the teaching says that it's not the case. We should check this out, of course. The teachings are saying that this is a recipe for misery. This preoccupation with oneself is a recipe for, unhappiness, for constant tension, anxiety, at some level or another. The self-cherishing attitude that it's called. I guess I don't know what the exact Hindi would be, but something like Atma Kendrit Vichar. This preoccupation with oneself is something that we can analyze, check how far it has been useful for us in our life. And again, as we quoted, I think last week, my teacher, who had said that, of course, this is something that is discussed and mentioned again and again in the Mahayana teachings. But the way my teacher put it is that real happiness in life starts when you begin to cherish others. That's real happiness. Well, I mean, we can have all kinds of temporary pseudo happiness, or temporal happiness. Happiness more connected with the senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, touch. It's not difficult to bring at least pleasure, temporary pleasure, on the basis of those senses. And by the way, we're not saying that is wrong or evil, not saying anything like that. What we're saying is that can bring us temporary pleasure or feeling of satisfaction, but long-term happiness, sense of long-term satisfaction, where does that come from? Does it really come from just entertaining the senses, from getting what we want all the time, or as much of the time as we can? We have to check that out. But it seems like a lot of people are leading lives primarily centered on that. Temporary pleasure, happiness. So we have to check where happiness comes from. Does it come from rushing after what we feel we want? Or does it come from the genuine sense of cherishing other people and being able to work with them, work for them, with them, like that? We have to check. Now, of course, the question arises here. Often we're in a situation where we may be a certain age and we have had many problems in life, possibly. And it's too much to expect someone who has not yet matured sufficiently, developed sufficiently. And by the way, I was just reading something, I don't know if it's true or not, but that the prefrontal cortex, which is a very important part of the brain for processing emotions and so forth, and it doesn't form fully until one is 25 years old. I don't know if anyone else knows about this. Are you familiar? Yeah. So if that's true, then of course we wouldn't expect younger people, young adults even, to be able to necessarily see anything beyond working for their own happiness, because often we're so deeply unhappy for whatever reason that it would be absurd to say to such people, look, you should be cherishing others. I mean, they'll say, look, I'm so unhappy myself. Kind of, how dare you tell me I should be taking care of other people? I need to take care of myself. So then the question arises, actually, what is the best way to take care of oneself? Is it to be constantly worrying about oneself? Of course, we are taking for granted that the person is having enough food and shelter, some basics of life, okay? And of course, that is now very difficult for so many millions in this world, unfortunately. They don't even have that. But say we have enough food and shelter, decent, relatively decent living conditions, although whatever, difficult, but not impossible. We have a home, we have a pankha, maybe no AC, but at least we have something and, we can survive pretty well. But then the question is, that's okay. That's okay, we need that. But then the person, because of their suffering they may have gone through and the feeling that they are so, being ill done by life, that person, how can we bring them to understand, or how can we bring ourselves to understand that cherishing others is the cause of happiness and not just cherishing oneself? One is so used to being preoccupied with oneself and what one wants or what one thinks one needs, due to, not having trained the mind, not having been trained in attention, not having been trained in meditation. So then we're constantly looking outward, aren't we, for satisfaction, for fulfillment, all the time. And that's understandable. We're not criticizing that is just normal, right? It's human. But we're saying it doesn't bring us the deep satisfaction we all want, So it's a very tricky thing, very tricky to balance that, one's own needs and that being able to go out, come out of oneself in a sense, one's own shell, one's own cocoon, and help others, be of real benefit to others. Perhaps parents feel it at a certain stage, especially with very young children, who obviously are natural objects of love and compassion. The helplessness, if you like, of a child, the vulnerability of a child, especially parents who deeply wanted children. So then it seems that in that situation, it's easy for the parents to forget themselves in a sense and work for the happiness of their child. And at that may be some of the most deeply satisfying moments of their life, because at that moment, you forget your own problems, your own anxiety, right? You're just caring for the child, even if it's hard work, having to get up at night and change nappies or whatever parents do. I mean, I know my sister-in-law had to do that. I mean, every parent has to do that. So, but there were no complaints, either from her or from my brother. So there must be something in this, that reaching out and cherishing another does bring a sense of satisfaction, and even a kind of a loss of a sense of self at that point, of ego. So one is just totally immersed in the child, in the other. So it is possible. One doesn't have to be a great spiritual practitioner to be able to find out that cherishing others is the source of satisfaction, of true happiness. Yeah. Again, Lama Zopa Rinpoche puts it very clearly, I think, and very effectively. He says, when we are concerned, when we are full of self-concern alone, then there's no peace in the mind. There is no relaxation. We're just worrying about ourselves. And that's the most uncomfortable and suffering way to be. I'm sure we've all had these moments again and again, worrying about me, my future, my this, my that. I don't want this. I don't like that. Why doesn't this person come into my life or go away from my life? Whatever it is. If only I had this, I'd be happy. If only this was not there, I would be happy, etc., etc. So that state of mind is the opposite of relaxed, right? And it can work on all kinds of levels. Your mother or someone didn't cook your breakfast exactly the way you like it, and it's a suffering for us. We complain. Anda theek se nahi bana, ye theek se nahi bana, ye thanda hai, ye zyada garam hai, jo bhi hai. I mean, we can find any excuse, yeah? And so that is a life of misery. But if we were actually concerned for the other person, had genuine concern for the other, then these things would not be important. We would be focused on, what can I do for others? What can be done? And at a certain point, that could become quite spontaneous. And we all know people who are like that, I'm sure. I mean, if not close friends, then at least people we've heard about or read about, who have just naturally been concerned for others. And from what I've seen of people who behave like that, they are full of energy and certainly happier than people who are full of self-concern. So when we talk about this extraordinary mind of Bodhichitta that Shantideva is discussing in this text, the wish to become awakened, the wish to become a Buddha, in order to benefit sentient beings, all sentient beings, we can, I hope, begin to understand that it is something we're capable of, even though there are obstacles right now. The main obstacle being this self-concern. this underlying sense that if I don't take care of myself, who will, or I need to find someone to take care of me. All the time, that sense of I want, I need, I must have, etc., etc. And this is very painful state of mind. Obviously, very painful. Yeah. And this is kind of revision for most of us. But intellectually, we may get this. It's not that difficult, but to actually work on it and practice it, see in our life how the self-centered attitude is a suffering mind, and the genuine attitude of cherishing others is a mind to be cultivated, if that's the right word. Some might argue with that. It either happens or it doesn't happen. It can't be cultivated. But from the Buddhist perspective, things can be cultivated step by step. You can't always jump into the state that we're wishing for. Let's take some questions already, some discussion. And then there are one or two other things I can talk about. But if there's anything that, excuse me, people, somebody wants to mention, based on your own experience would be best, not just theoretical knowledge. Yeah. And does anyone want to mention anything? Yeah, we have two people, I don't want to say offline, I want to say in person. Two real people want to ask questions. Vedika?
I want to understand how to cultivate patience because I really struggle with that.
Okay.
Especially when I'm trying to help somebody.
Oh.
And if, or maybe if I'm trying to teach somebody, like to simplify, I'm teaching something to somebody that person is not getting.
Are you a teacher?
No, I'm not a teacher. But just as like I was just doing some office work and sharing some information, and that person wasn't really getting. And these kind of situations annoy me a lot. So, and then I also feel guilty that why am I getting irritated?
Okay.
I should be.
Okay. This is the question on patience from Vedika, how to develop that, because irritation arises with people. Kursi liya? Sure. It's okay? Nahin. Nahin, lekin kursi liya? Sure. Okay. So, Naveen ji, you are so kind. Could you bring me some water, please? Warm water? Please. Thanks so much. Sorry, putting you to work immediately. Thank you. Thank you. Naveen ji just arrived, for those who know him. So, okay, this is a very good question. And your question was what?
I have not.
वो तो पहले इनका जवाब देंगे, लेकिन
अभी आप जैसे बता रहे हैं क्योंकि हम लोग बहुत अपने लिए सोचते हैं अपनी परेशानियों में
जी
इसलिए we are not able to look for the pleasure. लेकिन many times for me my personal experience has happened in my whole life. My experience, what I feel is that I have dedicated my life to others and others' well-being. We have raised a lot of children.
Yes.
A lot of people. My husband used to educate a lot of people who are not well off. But they all suddenly, after using this change, and that
meaning then that creates suffering for you.
They just leave you. And they emotionally hurt you.
Acha, you have found that.
Yeah.
And your husband also found that?
Yeah.
I see. So therefore you are saying that cherishing others is not a good way to happiness.
No, but how to find the happiness in that?
Okay, good. Okay, so that's connected with the first question regarding patience. Because Madhuji is saying how, she and her husband have helped others in life a lot, and yet they have not been repaid with kindness. They have
not expecting anything, but minimum recognition,
even the minimum recognition and gratitude or whatever has not been there from the side of the people they've helped. So this also becomes an issue, that even though we may reach out and benefit others, there is no reciprocal sort of feeling there. Okay, so these are huge, important questions, which we will all have come across. This is why we study Shantideva, actually. There's a whole chapter on patience.
Now, text. My fear has become that why I'm in this all chasing around this on the Nirvana and keep on listening to different videos and everything. So the thing is that not about happiness, how to be at peace with all the situation now.
Yes.
It's very difficult to compose yourself.
Batate. Yes. So Motherji is speaking how to get some basic peace, let alone happiness, just some basic peace, how to do, because one has been trying in so many ways, lectures, YouTube, this, that, but of course, okay. Now I'll try and answer some of this, but it will just be a beginning. These are vast questions. And as I said, these texts by great beings are supposed to help us answer these questions. With one thing I find useful, which I keep on repeating, but I think it is useful, is, the first teaching Buddha gave is that everything is unsatisfactory. Sab dukha. Everything is suffering. But here we can use it in a specific way to think, okay, the Buddha said that, and it's true. If we check, we can see it's true. Not in the sense that everyone may be suffering in a way that you can see, but you can tell after a while through the way people behave and speak and what they, what they do in life. You can tell that people have some kind of mental instability, what we might even call a kind of insanity or sickness. Meaning people don't behave in a way which is conducive to their own or other people's happiness. This is considered insane. Why? Because we want happiness. So, imagine, say, take an animal. Animals want satisfaction, security, happiness. Imagine if there are many animals who are doing things which are in complete contradiction, which are giving them the results, the opposite of what they want. Other animals would think they're insane. If dogs or cats or squirrels started acting in a way which is just harming themselves, then other squirrels might say, "Tu to pagal hai, kya kar raha hai?" Like that. So we humans want happiness, but so much of what we're doing is bringing us suffering. So that's a sign of mental imbalance, right? That's a sign of being sick. That's a sign of being sick. So people who are giving you problems, who are making you feel unhappy, who you get irritated by, and we all feel it, right? If we can think these people are sick, like me, like Buddha said, we're all sick, Now, how are sick people going to behave? How are insane people going to behave, They're going to behave insane. They're going to behave in ways that they don't even know they're doing it, actually. And they are not aware of the consequences. If people knew the consequences, really knew the consequences of their actions, would they do them? Of course, sometimes we would, because of habit. Like smokers may see lots of videos and horrible photographs on cigarette packets of what smoking does to you, but they'll still smoke. So of course there is habit, but by and large, if we were to consider more how we're behaving, anyway, we would see that we are basically imbalanced. We're insane. So then you can feel sad and compassionate for the person who is behaving in this way. This takes some training, obviously. It's not going to come immediately. The person who irritates you, and don't forget, once we get irritated once or twice with a person, then a habit pattern is also built up in our mind. When we see that person or think of that person, just as a person can stimulate, hatred or lust or irritation, it just takes that trigger and then you will feel it. So then we have to be very aware of what's happening in our mind. And with the person who irritates us, we have to remember, this is a suffering being who wants to be happy and is behaving like an insane person and creating these problems. And also you can then feel compassion to yourself, because maybe that person's behavior doesn't affect other people the same way. They don't find that person as irritating as you do, maybe. So then you can think, well, this is actually a problem in my mind, since I'm also insane. According to Lord Buddha's logic, I'm also insane, in the sense I'm not balanced, I'm not, clear and calm and kind and all the rest of it, I'm also crazy. From that perspective of mental balance, we're taking quite a high, what's the word? What's it called? Anyway, we have a very, we're setting the bar quite high. But if you do, then you realize we're all behaving in a very, very unbalanced way. So that begins to give a perspective on it. Then you can think in other ways, of course. Am I benefiting from my impatience? If you read Shantideva, what he says about anger, then it can help us to reduce our anger or decide really it's not the way, because he says the results of anger are catastrophic for oneself. It destroys positive energy, it creates a habit pattern, which again and again creates pain and sorrow for oneself and others. So, we need to reflect like that. And of course, the other supreme way is to think everything is a little bit like a movie. Life is like a movie, like a little bit like a dream. Little bit, agar aap sochenge na, thoda sa sapna jaisa hai. People change moment to moment, circumstances change. Sometimes it is as though it's a kind of a movie. Things seem a little unreal, and they're changing all the time.
That's true. Many things happen. Many things happen which we feel later on.
Yes.
It's completely unreal.
Yes.
Yes. We never expected that.
Yeah. So this is beginning to also answer your question, Madhuji. The what was your first question? मैं भूल गया. No, it was also, but you had framed it another way.
I was
people you had helped out of cherishing others, and they are not reciprocating.
That change of behavior. How to accept that normally.
अब क्या करें? जब आप पागल खाना में हैं, तो आप ये नहीं सोचेंगे ना कि वो ठीक से वो तो पागल है.
लिखते हैं और सभी धर्मों में do things without any expectation. As a human being, to practice that is not.
लेकिन we have to. वरना आप भी पागल हो जाएंगे.
पागल तो नहीं हो रहे हैं.
पागल मतलब according to Buddha, disturbed mind कह रहे हैं.
Disturbed mind.
आगरा नहीं भेजेंगे, लेकिन दिमाग disturbed है ना?
Disturbed है और
दुख बिल्कुल. अब दुनिया को देख करके दुख होता है, और क्या होगा? बुद्ध को तो यही हुआ.
एक बच्चा अपनी माँ को छोड़ के चल देता है, या किसी के लिए भी कुछ करो, वो आपको रिकॉग्नाइज करने से इनकार करता है.
ये तो है. जो आप 9 महीने पेट में रख करके इतना सेवा कर रहे हैं इतने सालों से, और वो फिर बाद में जो भी, वो तो दुख होगा ही. लेकिन क्या कीजिएगा? अपने को परेशान.
उसका एक्सेप्टेंस आना इतना
आसान नहीं है, और मैं तो सोच ही नहीं सकता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं तो मर्द हूँ. तो ये तो खैर बहुत बुरी, मैं क्या कहूँ? I should ask someone else who is a father or mother. Yeah, sir.
So I would say we should be dynamic.
Dynamic.
Sometimes we have to be self-centered. Sometimes we have to focus on others' needs.
That's true. Sometimes we need to be more
We should be
self-centered.
dynamic according to the situation we are.
Yeah. When you are, say, studying, say you need to do something for your job or, whatever, to get ahead in life, or then you have to focus more on yourself. But I think if that becomes out of hand, if it becomes the prime motivator of our life, then it's a problem. But of course, we have to work hard for ourselves at some point. However, you could look at it this way. You could think, whatever I do in my life, if I'm doing something to make myself more fit or healthy or strong or rich, underlying motivation can still be that you want to do that in order to be of more benefit for other people, your partner, your parents, society, or whatever. It doesn't have to be just selfish, does it? You're doing it for yourself, but you're hoping then that you can be more effective person in society, or helping others. Like someone who is training to be a firefighter or something. They have to train hard, maybe, or to be a lifesaver. They train hard so that they can then do the work of fighting fires to benefit others, to save others, or to save people from drowning. You have to be a good swimmer. You can't neglect the training to become a good swimmer. That means you have to, work on yourself. You have to give yourself good protein-filled food and do training and all the rest of it. Jo bhi karna hai. So that is looking after yourself, but you are thinking of others also. No? Your job gives you money, but you're also benefiting others. So, but there's no easy answer to your question.
In his part of the question, where he says it's our training that we have to save lives, protection, society. That's your job. You don't expect you are getting your salary for that. You have been trained for that. I'm talking about by self-love, you are trying to help others. Where people start using you, they drive out benefit out of you.
Okay, this is a good point. Okay, this using you has reminded me of something. Using you, once our teacher gave a talk to some directors of our dharma centers. Now, running a center, a big center, can be a big problem. The director gets criticized, the director gets... Anyway, people working for centers often feel they are being used. This comes up in meetings. I'm being used, you are using me. So then Rinpoche said, the person who is developing this attitude of cherishing others, they should be happy to be used. Of course, he's giving another opinion, maybe there's a middle way, but he's saying you should be happy to be used. Why are you developing these states of mind? Why are you studying? Why are you practicing compassion or studying it if you don't want to be used? Your life is such that you want to be used by others. So that's interesting. Of course, there's a balance there. No? You don't want people to also harm you. But it's interesting. If you accept, if you accept people can use you, that of course can only happen, isn't it, when we have less ego, less sense of I am being used. If we don't have a strong sense of I, me, mine all the time, who cares? If you're being used, you're being used. But of course, intelligence tells us when we will allow ourselves to be used, and when it's obvious that other person is just becoming very selfish themselves, or, used in the sense they're making me do all the work because that person is so lazy, then of course, common sense tells you that you're not helping the other person by making them more lazy. By letting them use you, you are helping them to be lazy. So that's not helping them. So then a wise person will be careful with how they are used. But I think my teacher meant that we usually have so much ego that when we are asked to do something we don't like to do because of laziness or whatever, then we say, oh, I'm being used. Ye hota hai na? But of course, it's a lot of balance.
Whatever you do something, there are people I can tell about my husband. He was a person much above the level who I am.
Your late husband, yes.
And he never used to get affected by the people who never used to care.
Acha. Right.
And here again, that kind of mental spiritual.
How did he do that? How did he attain
used to
that state?
practice, transcendental meditation for 20
Okay.
years.
Okay. So there's your answer. You need to practice meditation, and then that's
But
what Buddha said.
I don't expect much, but only thing I expect love for which the people
Why do you
are
expect love when people are if you accept that people are disturbed and whatever, crazy according to Lord Buddha, imbalanced, we can't expect anything from anyone. Well, sometimes maybe, but it's very tricky to expect anything.
Sometimes from the family you expect that.
We do, and I guess where family is very strong, as in India, we do expect a lot. And sometimes probably parents expect too much from children.
We don't expect too much.
You don't, but parents do. It makes some children commit suicide because the parents wanted the child to get better marks and he didn't. They commit suicide. So I think parents in India can be very suffocating. From mine weren't, but some people's are, it seems, you know. So and it causes grave problems for the children and resentment, and creates, you know, maybe later in life they don't want to help their parents because their parents have made their lives very difficult, you know. So whatever, we have to be skillful. And the more we are content within ourselves, which can only come probably through inner meditation practice, then, jaise maine bola na, कि if you have shoes on your own feet, it doesn't matter how many thorns are around or stones, because you have good shoes. But if your feet are not protected, then you're in trouble. तो शांतिदेव ये कह रहे हैं कि अपने मन को सुधारिए, सुरक्षित रखिए, फिर जो भी हो रहा है दुनिया में वो आपको नुकसान नहीं होगा. दुख हो सकता है थोड़ा, लेकिन आप संभाल सकते हैं. लेकिन हम लोग वो काम नहीं करते हैं. हम अपने दिमाग को संभालते नहीं हैं, शिक्षा नहीं देते हैं अपने को ठीक से, तो परेशानी होता है. So it's all comes down to training our minds.
Training, the training part sometimes is.
And it gets harder as one gets older, of course. Better to start young, but it can be started at any time. There's no choice, Madhuji. No choice, because others are not going to behave as you want them to. You cannot guarantee others will behave as you want them to, isn't it? नहीं हो सकता. कभी-कभी होता है, then you can say great, you know, thank you. But mainly, people are not going to behave as you want. There are some knowing looks in the audience here at Tushita. Seems like people have this experience. Okay, people don't behave the way we want. Yeah, whether parents, partners, bosses, brothers, sisters, children, जो भी है, क्या कीजिएगा? That's why Buddha, after his blissful experience, imagine how much bliss and happiness he had when he was totally enlightened, totally free. First teaching that comes out of his mouth for humanity is everything is suffering. You know, he could have been carried away by his experience and said, "Dekho bhai, everything is actually Sat Chit Anand, you know, everything is bliss." He didn't say that. I'm grateful to him for that. He gave the reality. He's basically saying you're sick, right? You're suffering, you're sick. वो डॉक्टर जैसे कह रहे हैं, you're sick. इसका कारण है, इसका इलाज है, अब आप दवाई लीजिए ठीक से. नहीं लीजिएगा तो बस दुखी रहिए, बीमार रहिए. So our problem is we don't take the medicine because we're lazy, or we just we are dominated by sanskars, habitual patterns from beginningless lives, where we often prefer that which harms us, behavior that harms us. यही बात. हाँ जी, वैदिका जी.
I like on similar lines. Actually, you said, well, you gave an example, right? Like parents, when they care for their children, in that moment they let go of themselves and they care only for their children.
Right.
But there are so many parents who later on resent that in life. Some of them leave their jobs to take care of their children, but later on they regret it. and then they also start putting that as an expectation on their children.
Of course.
And then that becomes a burden for their children. And
Of
then,
course.
You know,
Expectation, of
the
course. Yeah.
expectations.
It's very hard to engage in what we call in Buddhism the perfection of giving or anything, which means, as in the Gita, you do your work and you don't expect any reward. But the way. So can we give without expectation? Can we love someone without expecting anything in return? Very difficult for us. We always want something in return. That's natural human behavior.
Maybe not much in return.
At least something, huh?
No,
Kuch
not exactly something, but just a minimum respect or recognition.
Oh, yeah, we want something, whatever it is.
The feeling that you have been used.
Yeah,
for this purpose.
chakkar to wahi hai. But have you noticed sometimes you are engaging with someone, talking with them, and after a while you realize that they're actually in their own world, their own space. They're not really listening to you.
Yeah.
They are in their own whatever. Have you had that experience with people? So log apne duniya mein ghum rahe na, apne chakkar mein. This is natural. We're caught up in our own mental processes, our distractions. We hardly pay attention to other people properly, very often. So what can we expect from other people? Yeah.
I have a
Nivita.
related question.
Yeah.
Like coming from the other side.
Other side.
How can we, as children, like meet almost halfway in the sense that parents do have expectations. Okay, you come home once in a while, or this or that, these kinds of things. Or let's say they are asking something of you, like you don't want to do it. Like, how can you, I don't know.
So the
meet
question
them
from,
without,
hmm.
yeah, I guess.
More? You want to say more?
I don't know.
Yeah. So we're talking about expectation. Nivita ji is asking about how to work with the expectations that is there from the side of parents. So she's speaking from the other side, she's saying, from the side of the child, from the side of the daughter. So how to deal with parents' expectations? Is there a halfway point? This is a difficult thing. I can't say much because my parents didn't seem to have any expectations. Or, well, they did. My father had expectations. So I very patiently would listen him out. He would say, Shadi kab ho raha hai, shadi kab ho raha hai. So that stopped when I was 30. I patiently listened to it and said various vague things up to then. 30 umar ke baad band ho gaya. So theek hai, apne aap band ho gaya. So I didn't have to do much else. Luckily, he wasn't a very forceful father. Mata ji to khair Angrez thi, bahut pehle guzar chuki thi. So there was no double whammy pressure, no pincer movement, just one person. But sometimes there is no halfway. It's all or nothing. You have to make it clear through your own life or your own whatever that what they're asking from you, whatever it is not possible.
And also,
or at least not now.
They're asking, sometimes it's been taught, like, especially in Hindu dharma, that's your duty, that's your dharma. Also, to pay them and look after them. That's also your karma and dharma.
Yeah, that is true in some way. Yeah, of course, in traditional society.
Some kind of expectation as a child. It's
Yes.
your dharma to look after them.
Yeah.
And that is where the catch. How much?
Yeah.
That is where.
That is where the catch. How much
Okay.
and to what extent?
Okay, so Madhuji brought up a good point. At least traditional societies, children have a duty, a dharma, to look after their parents. Their parents have looked after them.
Our Indian law says
So, Haji?
Indian law.
Law mein?
Law maybe.
Kya?
You have to maintain your parents.
Law mein?
Yes.
There's a law you have to maintain your parents?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
didn't
kick
know
them
that. Huh?
out. You can't kick them out. You have to.
Oh, you can't kick.
take them out, or financially you have to take the responsibility.
If you don't, then you can be taken to court.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen much.
No. There's so many judgments.
सुजीत जी, ये मैं पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ. आपने सुना है
12-13 years
that
old.
children are by law supposed to take care of their parents? आपने ये सुना है क्या?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Wow.
Especially after marriage.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
and if they're living in another country, then?
Oh, well, they'll have to come. They'll have to come wherever the jurisdiction is, wherever the parents are.
The child will have to go to the parents, or the parents have to come to the
They
child?
will have to take care financially. They have to.
So somehow they'll have to take care financially.
They will have to make the arrangement that they are not on the road.
Good grief. Well, it's lucky for me then.
Isn't a very old law, though. Isn't a very old law.
It's a very old law. In 1983, my
No.
husband.
This is 2008.
No, we recently, there are so many judgments, but in 1983, we fought a case where a son has kicked out of his father, out of his house, and he has to take him back.
वो तो है. But if the parents are happily living and have enough money or settle somewhere, one has to still take care of them?
No,
No,
if they
no.
don't ask for, no. If they don't ask for, no. But you can't leave them on the road.
That makes sense. That makes some sense. That makes a lot of sense.
What I've noticed is a lot of conflict happens when people expect to be taken care of how they want to be taken care of.
In the way that they want.
Yes, because for us, like even in my case, like me and my husband is like an ideal son, and we are living with his parents, and he does everything for them. Even then, they are so dissatisfied, and they've caused so many issues. Now we are all taking therapy and all that.
How old are they, these
They're
in-laws?
60 plus, just 61.
Bring them to Tushita. हम लोग सुधार लेंगे उनको.
What I noticed is we do so much for them.
Yeah.
When we don't do something that how they want it to be, that's where the problem comes.
And your
Yeah, that
husband
is
agrees
true.
with that they are
way,
asking for too much?
So my husband eventually realized it because he was just tired of being blamed and because he was just doing everything he could. But then even then they were always so unhappy.
So what would my teacher say? What would Shantideva say? Yeah. Good. Well, we need a very strong mind, don't we? Very strong, courageous mind to deal with these challenges, no?
Yeah. Eventually now he's realized that I will take care of them financially,
Hmm.
and I'll take care of their health.
But
beyond that, even our therapist said that beyond that, their happiness is not my responsibility.
Achha, you're in therapy because of this.
Yeah.
You're all in therapy.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Apart from the father.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Okay.
that's what she said, that their happiness is in their hands. You can't do anything to make them happy, but you can take care of them.
Yeah, or kya kare? We can't force someone to be happy. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think, because every mind, every person is also different, so you can't, there is no meeting. Every person, what somebody expects, another person can't give.
And there is a great dilemma about that. Yesterday I watched a movie called King Richard. And that was the movie about
On Shakespeare's play.
no,
No.
that was about Serena Williams, the tennis player's
Oh.
father.
Okay.
Her
And
father's.
their father was so strict. He made them do everything which he wanted
Achha,
for their success.
for the success.
So, for their success. And they had to follow all the instructions, everything, and he prevented them from failing. So there is a big dilemma when parents want you something to do, they think that this is right, and they force you to do so. Maybe 90% of the time they are right, 10% time they are not right. Their expectations are too much. There comes the dilemma, and the child's happiness gets stuck out.
Sure. I mean, basically, as some teachers say, and well, the teachings say, we cannot expect things to work properly in samsara. In samsara mein koi na koi gadbad ho gayi. Sansar, by definition, is not a perfect mechanism. It's a suffering mechanism. So we have to make the best of it by protecting our own minds through wisdom and compassion, and realizing that sometimes there is also never, in some circumstances, there is not a cure for something, or when we cannot fix everything. And I'm not talking about the deep thing like ignorance easily. I'm just talking about these family matters. Sometimes they are insoluble. You know, we cannot solve the problem of someone who cannot be made happy, or whatever there may be some other circumstance, that, due to, I don't know, the property falling apart or some litigation, and it just is not working out. We can't work everything out. But what we can do is train our mind that these things do not overwhelm us, and that we actually use them to develop what I suppose Buddhists would say we should use it to develop more renunciation. कि हम तंग हो गए, संसार से मैं तंग हो गया. I can see now what Buddha is saying. ये तो बेकार है इसमें ज़्यादा invest करना. Good, very good. तो आप दिल्ली छोड़ के पहाड़ में जाइए कहीं और संन्यास लीजिए. तो sannyasi. Yeah.
Sir,
yeah.
I have to add 2 points.
Please.
I tell you my experience.
You're a father? Did you say raising a family?
No, not this. I'm not married actually. I'm just telling about my experience with my parents.
With your parents.
So today we are very much happy in our family. We don't conflict each other, my father and my mother.
Good.
Why? Because when I convince them, like, okay, fine, up to 38, 28 age, I listen everything of you, okay? Whatever you were telling, this is not. Please. So whatever they were telling, I was listening everything. But now, what I told them, now this remaining 30 years, whatever we will tell, please listen. Otherwise, every time we end up with conflict on it. Because every parent, they'll say, okay, we are only right. But somewhere, you have to think on our perspective as well. 30 years we listen, now remaining 30 years, we are ready to serve you. Just listen up.
Many parents create a balance these days, and these days I see they don't want to depend on the children. Like, I am also looking for a place where I can live on my own independently without being dependent on my children, and at the same time be with children also. So physically or mentally, unless and until I'm completely off, I should not be dependent. I'm trying for that, but I don't know what's going to happen. But these days they try to create a balance.
Okay, that's good. One question from the people online, who are the majority actually. Saurabh says, I don't see much difference in helping myself and helping others, because in both cases, self is the one who is getting satisfied. Both are self-centered activity. But yeah, socially and in some cases psychologically, one can put helping others in speech marks. We can put helping others above than helping only myself. However, basically both are the same, he says. Well, yes, I agree. For most of us, it might be that way. But then that's good too, no? If helping others makes you happy, that's wonderful. But it's not self-centered in the same sense as if you're just doing things for yourself alone, is it? But in another way, you're correct that until we have gone beyond this sense of I, me, mine, then of course everything we do is somehow feeding back to the self and one's self-identity. So I think in that sense you are correct. Ashish Bhawanani, sorry, are you still there?
Kabirji?
Yeah.
I think Nitya has her hands raised for at least half an hour.
Half an hour.
Yeah, she must be tired by now.
Okay, thank you. Let me just check. Where is this Ashish? Has he gone? He's there. Okay, but first Nitya and then Ashish. Okay, Nitya, sorry, I missed you. You should come to Tushita. But then I won't recognize you because I don't recognize people here who've been online. Okay, where are you? Yeah. Boliye. Have I unmuted you all? Hold on.
Hello.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for whoever noticed my raised hand.
Lawyer.
All right, good. So it's kind of similar to Saurabh's question in the sense that you're really, even if you are cherishing others over cherishing yourself, you are, and it makes you feel good, there's still this inherent sense of me, myself, and I'm doing it because I feel this is a better way to be, and this is how I want to feel about myself. So then what is the next, like, where do you go from there if in terms of progress and evolution you want to overcome or not, or rather think less of yourself but do it from another space? How like, what is that? I can't, it doesn't occur to me intuitively what the next step over there would be.
Good question. Next step will be focusing more on the wisdom aspect of the teaching, because the compassion aspect is a very important component, obviously, in this. But as you say, it is still colored by this sense of I, me, mine, in a, albeit a maybe subtle way. But there is that sense of a me who is doing, good work, and it makes me happy. Of course, on a conditional level, that is excellent. If helping others makes you happy, how wonderful. Imagine if helping others made you just feel unhappy. Would that be a good thing? No. It's making you happy. Wonderful. But yeah, it can lead to a subtle sense of, smugness, or that you are superior to people who don't help others. Or, if you have that sense, then if other people respond, as we've had the situation here, respond with ingratitude or even harm you, then of course the ego may be stimulated and you may feel resentment. So the only way to avoid any kind of problem here is to work on the wisdom, which means to realize that the I, who I think I'm helping others, is a kind of a hallucination. And my understanding of me and my identity and who I am is a hallucination, according to Lord Buddha. It isn't the way it appears. There is no real I, me, mine helping others. So this is a difficult one, isn't it? But that is what Buddha is teaching. But gradually we come to the understanding that, yeah, there's a body mind here, but there's no real independently existing I or me or Kabir who helps others or who leads Zoom sessions. Something is happening, obviously, but it's not being led by some independently existing Kabir, whatever I may think about it. Yeah, there's somebody called Kabir who is kind of, sitting up front and doing this stuff. But the way I understand that Kabir is false, according to Lord Buddha, because I'm clinging to Kabir as some kind of real owner of this body and this mind, as though there's some separate independent principle. Whereas all I am is a body and mind, which works perfectly well and actually works better without this autocratic owner who then, ruins our lives by making us think of ourselves all the time. So that's the way to begin. We have to move in the wisdom direction, because wisdom is actually what liberates. Compassion makes us, expands our mind so we can become Buddhas, but we need the wisdom just to be free of samsara. Because the cause of samsara is not so much lack of compassion as lack of wisdom and holding on to I, me, mine. That's the cause of samsara, in simple words. The short answer to your question is, however much you meditate on compassion, it's not going to get you out of that problem. It has to be wisdom, which is why Buddha emphasized wisdom so much. And that in some teachings it says that every teaching Buddha gave was to help disciples to get closer and closer to an understanding of reality In other words, the wisdom side, who we really are, how phenomena really exist. Yeah. And for that, it's useful to read subatomic particle physicists, what they write, and what the quantum physicists are saying. That's very interesting to read, because that also deconstructs how we are looking at the world and material objects, so-called solid material objects, etc., etc. Yeah. So that's the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ashish. Yeah. Can't hear you if you're speaking. No, can't hear you. Something wrong with your mechanism. Not your throat, but your technology. You're not listed here as muted, but somehow we can't hear you. Okay, you're right.
Am I audible now?
Ah, yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So, as we talked about compassion and caring about others, right? So, in my profession, I'm a tech entrepreneur, and there are days when I care about others, and the situation I see is they try to screw me over.
Screw you over? Oh dear.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's a shoot world. It's a shoot world. It's a shoot world. So that's getting used is a fine thing. Like the word getting used is an agreeable word, but screwing over is a bad word, right? And I feel I'm being screwed over. Then I try to screw
How
them
do you
multiple
define
times.
that? How do you define being screwed over?
Well, when I'm trying to create a monetary balance, instead of that, they want all the profits. Let's say it's a very simple thing. It's a very straightforward thing. Instead of a balance, someone else tried to disrupt the balance, and instead took away, take away all the profits. Then what will be my reaction? It will be anger. It will be screwing them multiple times.
मतलब ये लोग मतलब बदमाशी कर रहे हैं ना, बेईमानी कर रहे हैं, आप ये कह रहे हैं. They are cheating.
They are actually not cheating. It's like everything is in a professional world. So they are not actually cheating. It's like they are being more greedy in a very clever manner. And then what should I do? Then, like, my perception is like,
if you're the boss, you should warn them, and if they don't listen, you should get rid of them. You should fire them. And that will also help teach others. Sometimes we have to be tough. Being compassionate doesn't mean we allow people to get away with all these things. You warn them, and then if they don't listen, you say thank you, bye-bye. Very good. बहुत से लोग हैं ना जो काम ढूंढ रहे हैं. And then other people also get the message that you might be a kind boss, but you're not an idiot. They're not going to use you as a carpet. है कि नहीं? You have to be tough. Being compassionate doesn't mean we can't be tough. You have to be tough. Sometimes people don't listen otherwise. No, we can't just be kind and smiling all the time. That doesn't work. Yeah. So that's why we have in Buddhism, in Vajrayana Buddhism, especially some of the figures of Buddha are look like, very wrathful, angry spirits. They look like, they look like, the Bhairavs, like Kali or Durga in the Hindu tradition. So in Buddhism, we have very wrathful looking gods and goddesses representing that compassion, but compassion manifesting in a very tough way, because that's the only way we can work with certain people and with our own minds. Yeah.
Buddha has ever taught not being compassionate.
Has he ever taught?
I know about Buddhism. We have learned about that's forgiveness, only forgiveness, whatever people.
No.
Like the whole concept about Ichha is whatever is going to accept.
वो तो अलग बात है ना. But if someone is cheating or behaving badly and harming others, you have to stop them. Buddha would never say just let people do what they want. As you can let people do what they want, let them cheat others, harm others, extort from others. No. Some of the great dharma kings of Tibet and other places, they have been very severe on evildoers, very severe, because otherwise the whole society gets affected and then degeneration spreads and people don't listen. So even dharma rajas have to be very tough sometimes because people can get out of control, isn't it? What do you think? Sometimes we have to be very tough. Like example would be a mother with a kind mother, very good mother, with a child who is consistently misbehaving and being maybe even a danger to their younger, siblings. The mother has to act angry. Maybe एक तमाचा भी कभी कभी देना पड़ता है, वरना बच्चा तो छुरी या कांटी लेके छोटे भाई का वो कर देगा. So one has to be very careful. One has to be, it's very hard being skillful as well as compassionate, no? Sometimes we have to pretend to be very angry. Wisely selfish, Thank you, Isar. His Holiness talks about being wisely selfish. I think that's applicable here. Matlab, let's be selfish, but in a wise way, and we benefit, others benefit, and we shouldn't expect to be able to help others in a totally selfless way yet. That will come with the application of more wisdom, where then spontaneously things happen, you could say. Then we don't think about, is this going to help me? Or it just, things evolve naturally because we are, we've got used to that way of acting, and also we're no longer clinging on to a strong sense of self-identity. I want people to be helped. However, I would like to be cause of their happiness, help. Is another problem. It's Saurabh is saying. Are you saying it's hard to be a cause of their happiness? To be able to help them is not easy. Is this what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying that the self and the helping. Another thing I can see there that every time there is a sense of helping others, but also there is another thing there that I should be the cause of their help. So that makes more happier, like someone. So
I should be the cause.
Yes, I should be the cause of someone's happiness.
Matlab, somebody else should not be the cause of their happiness.
No, definitely, if someone is there, that is fine. But all above that, if I can help someone, then that would be better.
So what's the problem with that?
The problem is that if someone else is helping someone or I am helping someone, both should be same because that person is getting helped.
Acha, but sometimes we don't feel that way. We would rather that I am helping.
Yes,
so that I get the praise or the...
Exactly. So that is another problem with self and helping.
Hota hai.
Yeah.
So this is just another indication that, we still have a long way to go in terms of getting rid of this I. We want to be the center of attention, of course. That's the thing. We would like to be the center of attention in some way,
Right.
Oh, what's the time? Okay, it's only 8 o'clock. मैं तो चल सकता हूँ थोड़ा और. My cook is on holiday at the moment, so.
Sir, I go because I'm very far.
कहाँ रहते हैं?
Nizamuddin.
Nizamuddin. How did you get here? You're driving or you have a driver? Driver है, ठीक. So Madhuji, thank you very much.
Very, very enlightening.
Good. Yeah. So relax more, do some 5 minutes meditation in the morning. It can be helpful. Mobile वगैरह ले लीजिएगा.
Sure.
And I'm sure Sujit ji would want to say goodbye to you. Madhu ji जा रहे हैं Sujit bhai.
Now Madhu auntie.
Madhu auntie. He calls you auntie. We can go on. Fardunji, you had a question, you had something like Ayn Rand, yeah, virtue of selfishness talks about rational selfish. Don't know about Ayn Rand. I haven't heard, I've heard mixed things about her. But yeah, rational selfish, okay. But she does seem to be someone who, I don't know. I should read her book before commenting on it, but her books are too thick.
Yeah, no, they were quite the things to read like in the 70s or 80s when I was in school. And they made a lot of impact on a lot of us. But of course, later on, they said there was questionable attitudes and morality questions about her, which still it triggered a lot of thoughts for our for a whole generation, I think.
I see.
And
did
so
she have
interesting.
a cult of the individual? The individual is supreme, and blah blah blah. All of that.
Yeah. So it was that. So there was that thing of like individualism and like above everything else. But there was a lot of. It did trigger a lot of good ideas as well. So I mean, you didn't have to take it all without questioning it. Yeah. It got one thinking, which is really good.
That's
I think. Yeah. Otherwise, people are so like mindless. So earlier, I'd written something about the whole thing about which moved into being used. How does one help someone out of being a self-cherishing person and just living in a cocoon of I, me, my, How does one help someone out of that?
Well, I guess one has to do it for oneself first. Then one has more idea. It's like that Shantideva thing. We can't cover the world with leather. We just have to do our own work, But
no, but someone you'd like to help.
If they're a young person or not too old or whatever, maybe just through one's own example, one can, be a good example for others. So.
No, it's someone who's too old, then you can't change their way, I guess, no?
Often, I mean,
yeah.
When one's old, one gets very ossified, but younger people can often. But the point is, younger people nowadays, it seems, don't respect older people much, or respect anyone. More and more, because of things breaking down in various ways. So I don't know how we would help people, but maybe setting a good example and trying to be very kind to them and teaching them can help. I mean, hopefully that works at some level. Otherwise, we're doomed, aren't we? Today's Teachers' Day. If teachers don't have any power to affect their pupils, then we're in bad shape. So maybe I should take back what I said. And say,
Happy Teachers' Day, Kabir.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything.
That's what I wanted to hear. Yes. More. Then, what I was going to say is, I mean, children at a certain age, they are more just obviously self-centered, right? They're caring for themselves and they're learning about the world and all the rest of it. So what makes them, I think, more other-oriented is the example of a really good teacher. It's very clear how certain, teachers can be very inspiring for children. So
I'm talking more about seniors because I think they get so wrapped up in their
seniors. Then we have to look to drugs, We have to look to medication, all these sophisticated medications. I'm joking. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's
tough, especially for the elders because they get, I think, so wrapped up in their own aches and pains.
And just have to be as kind as possible to that level of elders. And just don't make them as happy as possible because it's hard enough being that old. I've seen it with my father and uncles. It's a real bummer being that old and
I'm seeing it.
So
I'm seeing that with mom. She gets completely self-absorbed with her.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pain or whether it's the food, it's nothing's good enough. So it's like
small things become very, very difficult for them.
Yeah.
It just has to be very kind and patient, I guess. Nothing else works, otherwise oneself goes gaga trying to help.
True.
Isn't it? Not getting the, thanks or anything. But
No, we just want them to be happy, but nothing makes them happy, Everything is like you bring a bunch of flowers, like, oh, they'll die day after tomorrow. Like, so, Yeah, obviously, you know.
Yeah. But just as when we were children, we didn't thank our parents, you know, at least up to the age of 3 or 4 or 5, I guess we never said thank you to our parents. Well, maybe they taught us to say it, you know, but basically we didn't thank parents when they cleaned our nappies, yeah, when we were that young. So take care, let them also, you know, not thank us in their old age. It's like a second childhood in some ways. You know, people become incontinent and they become helpless. बच्चे जैसे हो जाते हैं, so you know, we help them when they become like children, repaying the kindness. What do you think? You still there, Fardu? Maybe gone off too.
I'm on the phone, so these little buttons are like really fun. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. But more than the thankfulness, I just wish happiness would be there. But you know, like I'm saying, you give a book.
No, I
just be happy with.
It's hard to be happy when everything, when you're old, is harder. Everything at that age I saw, eating, drinking, sitting, standing, walking, digesting, everything is harder.
True.
So, you know, how do we expect people to be happy? You know? Buddha listed it as one of the 4 main sufferings also. Birth, sickness, and death. So, you know, we can't expect them to be very joyful unless they are yogis, you know, unless they have really trained their mind amazingly, or like this guy recently, 126-year-old Swami, who I was reading about. He is giving his recipe for long life, and one of them, some very nice things. Basically, you know, being not wanting, not having desire, not having, eating less, you know, all those things, having a very healthy lifestyle, but having also one thing, that one was very big, having no kind of worries and no desire, no desire for anything. That's, I mean, very interesting, very useful. No desire. How weird can you get? But he's 126 and still going strong.
Nice.
He eats twice a day. I think that there were some other good things. Yeah. So old age is not a time when we would expect people to be happy, actually, because also there's death, right? Most people are afraid of death.
Yeah, it's lurking around the corner somewhere.
And, we're not trained to deal with death, you know. So that's why a lot of the Buddhist teachings are about how to, you know, prepare for death and take care of dying people. That's not easy either. So what else before we end?
Thank you.
Sure. You want to pick up a book from the library? Depends.
I suggest that.
Yeah, that might be good. Which one were you wanting?
When things fall apart.
Oh, it's not there?
It is.
Yeah, that's good. Are things falling apart for you?
No,
But as Trungpa says, the bad news is that we are floating without a parachute. That's the bad news. The good news is there's no ground. There's no ground. There is no certainty anywhere. There is no ground. Parachute hai ya nahi hai, koi farak nahi padta. There's no ground. Anyway, good luck. Thanks for coming.
Virji, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Pradeep ji, for being so patient. Thank you. I hope to see you soon so I can give you your bartan filled with goodies. Yeah. आप आइए ना किसी दिन राहुल को पकड़ के खींच के।
आते हैं next.
बहुत दिन हो गए।
Speak on next week, yes sir.
Please. जगमोहन जी क्या हाल है? आप बड़े चुपचाप रहते हैं आजकल। ठीक हैं?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying the discussion.
Very good. Very good.
Particularly that part about helping others, I have also always had this strong feeling that one helps others because of some satisfaction of your own need or some satisfaction that you get yourself by helping someone else.
Right.
That is the driving force. So that's kind of interesting. Those were my thoughts that were being discussed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. आइए किसी दिन, अब तो खुले हैं, कभी कभी
आएंगे, जरूर आएंगे,
मिले तो आइए.
So I don't know about enjoying or doing it for self-satisfaction. Helping others has been part nature, I guess, because it's part of our DNA sometimes. And it's without expectation. But yeah, sometimes they overstep the line. And when you sort of draw a boundary, that's when people sort of get really antsy, like, oh, so, you're being tough now. I said, yeah, tough love. You've learned what to do now. Get on and do it yourself,
Yeah.
And that's when people get a little more than upset with one, because they're so used to you doing things for them that they don't want to get up and do it,
Well, people become helpless, I think, a little bit, and very dependent. So it's going from their comfort zone. I found this, that with people, people's comfort zones are different. So if we threaten our own and others' comfort zones, it becomes very, very uncomfortable, and that can lead to strong reaction.
Yeah, and disharmony, because you've been doing it for them, and you keep doing it, then you go like, hey, now you can get up and do it for yourself, but they go, oh no, I can't do it. I don't want to do it, basically.
Right. Pardon, there's a question here from someone at Tushita. Thanks for that.
It's fine, sir, if it's getting late.
No, I'm okay.
No, it's a general question. I'm sorry before. I just want to know why we call Buddha as a Lord. Every time you're calling Lord.
Just out of respect.
What do you mean by Lord?
Lord is someone very noble and high and worthy of being listened to and obeyed even. That's the traditional feeling.
It doesn't mean God, right?
No, it doesn't mean God. Doesn't mean God. Buddha is not a God. See, Buddha is in me and in you and everyone. So in that sense, just respectfully, someone who traditionally a Lord is someone who the followers look up to the Lord, and the Lord has the responsibility to also take care of the followers. A good Lord takes care of the followers also. So in that sense, I consider myself a follower, I hope intelligent follower of the Buddha. So he is like a Lord, but yeah, not God. Not like Lord God, or like the Lord as used in Christianity. Not like that. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, we'll dedicate now. The people online, we can dedicate. Everyone here at Tushita, there's 2 people. Can we dedicate together? Okay, we'll just dedicate together briefly. I'm just calling the youngsters to order. We have Naveen, and Vedika, and Chavi, and newcomer, what is it? Prajanya and Nivita. Okay. And we have Jagmohanji and Isar and Sujit and Fardun, Saurabh and Sagar online. So we can dedicate the positive energy of the session that it may have at least got us to start reflecting on certain matters. And we can dedicate also for Madhu, who left. Obviously, she's not having an easy time. Her husband died a few years ago, and it's difficult for an elderly person. Children are also not there, or whatever. So dedicate for her happiness, all of our happiness, for people who recently died, and for so many people who are suffering around the world, the war, floods in Pakistan, and all the other environmental disasters creating suffering for beings. And we should dedicate, we are never separated from authentic teachings and teachers, so that we do not misuse the spiritual path and can benefit from it in the proper way. And of course, we should dedicate that our lives become more and more beneficial for others, and that we may become more and more liberated from the self-cherishing attitude, and especially the fixation on I, me, mine, which is the basic cause of our problems. Please dedicate for long life all the great teachers, His Holiness Dalai Lama, Jabji Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all the other great teachers. May they have long and healthy lives. May all their wishes, their holy wishes, be fulfilled. Okay, thank you all so very much. From Dehradun to Mumbai to Delhi to wherever people are. Thank you so much. Take care. Today, Monday. Yeah, we'll see some of you tomorrow, maybe. Yeah. Bye.